All right, let us move on. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Yesterday we spoke about Surah Al-Qasas and Al-Ahzab. And today we are looking at a group of surah which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has named with a name of there is, if you like, a combination name, and that combination is the Ha-Meem. It's called the Ha-Meem because they all start with Ha-Meem. And those surah which start with Ha-Meem, even though we start with Ha-Meem, their names aren't Ha-Meem, except perhaps one which we said was known as Ha-Meem as-Sajda, and that was Surah Fussilat. But apart from that, the Ha-Meem have their own names. So we have for example, the surah is a Surah Ghafir. We spoke about it, which we said is also the surah of Al-Mu'min. And then Surah Fussilat, which we also said is Ha-Meem as-Sajda. But then we have Surah Ash-Shura, which also begins with Ha-Meem. And this surah is surah which is named Ash-Shura, which is consultation, which is like the akhlaq and the etiquette of the believer. And that's why Shura is mentioned in this surah as one of the qualities of the believers. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, and their affairs are conducted in consultation amongst themselves. And that in itself is a great indication and pointer from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He wants us to remember and to understand that in ourselves as humans, we are limited in terms of how our perceptions, how far our perceptions go, how far they reach. Now, no matter how much you think that you know, there's always going to be people who think of matters in a different way. And Allah even says, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above anyone who has knowledge, there's somebody who is more informed, if you like. So there's always people who will have certain abilities more than others, and that's why Shura is an important tool that not just the Muslim but indeed the human should use in their day-to-day life, because you can reach either ideas, understand perspectives which you may not have considered. Actually, I didn't view it from this way. I didn't see it like this. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ practiced Shura and consultation. Even though he was the Prophet ﷺ, he was divinely directed and guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet there were times when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left the matter for the Shura so that people can, with the will of Allah, they can understand the issues, and also practice this great practice of Ash-Shura by learning how to consult each other and to dwell on matters with each other. And Surah Ash-Shura, which mentions this quality amongst other qualities of the believers, it by indicating the name of this surah as a shura, it's like forming, and this is a lot of the surah do have this kind of reality, is that the name of the surah is chosen to highlight that specific quality and to maintain it throughout the years, the understanding. It's in eternity now, isn't it? Because there's always a surah called Ash-Shura, the consultation. You always go back to that surah to consider how that practice should be amongst believers. The surah which follows Ash-Shura is called Az-Zukhruf, and Az-Zukhruf means the decorations or the ornaments, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Az-Zukhruf specifically in line with how some people perceive the dunya, and they perceive the qualities of people, because what the verses were talking about in this surah is that some people thought that, that, you know, why is it that there are different levels of people? Why is it that some people have certain, you know, certain elegance more than other? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was saying in this surah that some people, you know, if people were all if people were all on one level, you know, if they were on one level, then there would be a meaning to say, okay, why does one person have more than the other? But the reality is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may actually give people in this life, and He mentions a lot of qualities of this dunya, you know, like beautiful houses, beautiful thrones, or reclining beds and doors, and zukhrufa, the ornaments, etc. This is all provisions from the dunya, and a lot of the time, you know, whilst the believer can search and attain goodness in this life, it's very much important that they understand that the real reward, the real enjoyment is in the akhirah. And sometimes you getting something in this life may actually be on the account of something in the akhirah. So don't always try to seek to get something quickly. You know, you're in this dunya, okay, I want something happening, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيا. You give preference to the hayat dunya, but the akhirah, the next life, is that which will remain and that which is better. Wallahu ta'ala alam. And that's why, in fact, in Surah Al-Zukhruf, towards the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions some of the qualities that the people of Al-Jannah will get, and the counterparts, those people who enjoy the Zukhruf, what will there be? What will their reality be? Also mentioned in that surah towards the end. And that's also a surah that begins with Ha-Meem.